and welcome to the Giraffe Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Chloe, and today I'm joined by two members of our fabulous team, Katie and Christy.
Hi.
Hi.
Coming up on this week's episode, we'll be discussing our top content recommendations for the month, how to use Pinterest for your business, along with TikTok's latest milestone. Make sure you stick around to the end of the show, where we'll also be answering some of your burning DMs. Before we kick things off, girls, how were your weekends? What did everyone get up to?
My weekend was really good, thank you. I loved having a little bit of a relax. My boyfriend and I binged Midnight Mass. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but it's fantastic. So it was a real lazy weekend. So I loved it. What about you guys?
I mean, I started a new D&D campaign with some of my friends. It was the first adventure of Twig Bramblebunch, my character. She is a gnome druid who has an affinity for animals.
Sounds amazing. I love that name as
better
well.
than my weekend.
Yes, well, it sounds like we all had relatively interesting weekends I myself didn't get up to too much, just a bit of shopping and mainly just trying to escape the rain, which has been just a staple of every October since I've moved to England. So... Well, guys, every month over on the Giraffe Instagram account, the team likes to share their favourite content recommendations. So naturally, I thought we would get the podcast listeners in on the fun. What have been some TV shows, movies, podcasts, books even that you guys have been binging and loving in September going into October?
I mean, I'm probably going to say the thing everyone is watching at the moment, and that's Squid Game. The subbed version, of course, because who watches the dubbed version? I finally finished it last night. Oh my god, it was amazing.
Ooh, Christy, have you seen Squid
So
Games?
intense. Oh, I have indeed. Literally as soon as it came out on Netflix, my partner and I were like, yes. It is fantastic. So gory, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's so... it's one of those shows you have to be watching at all times, otherwise you're lost. So we definitely had to rewind a few times, but loved it. So interesting, and I was going to say fun to watch. I'm not sure that's the right word, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it keeps hold of you from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Gripping,
I haven't watched it. I'm not a fan of gore, but I've been seeing it all over TikTok. That song, I don't know, there's a song that plays at some point, that's all over my TikTok feed. And I also saw on TikTok some girl was saying that she speaks fluent Korean, and if you don't if you're watching the English version or the subtitle version, you're missing out on a lot of context and information. So
yeah, I've seen that too.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That doesn't surprise me. So yeah, I've been watching, I feel like I gave it away right at the beginning, Midnight Mass. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but it is, Sam and I, my partner and I, have literally just binged it over the last 2 or 3 days over the weekend, and it's fantastic. It's a bit of a religious one, but it's a play on religion, and it's based on an island, which is always a recipe for disaster, because obviously you can't get off an island, and I'm not going to give any kind of spoilers, but it is so good. And it's made, I don't know if either of you have seen Haunting of Hill House or Bly Manor, but it's made by the same people with a lot of the same actors and actresses, so it's very similar vibes, but I would even go as far as to say I loved it just as much as I loved the Haunting series, so I definitely recommend it if you have a spare few hours.
Definitely. That sounds gripping and thrilling in all the ways that I would hate. So
yeah, Chloe, you will not be watching this, but don't worry, I'll tell you all about it separately. Give you all the spoilers.
Fabulous. Well, hopefully the listeners will take on those two recommendations. I myself will not. But if you're looking for a bit of an easier watch, I have been binging Fleabag on, I think, what am I watching it on? Amazon Prime, which I'm late to the party. I know that this has been out for a while, but I finally got around to watching it, and it's amazing. And I was devastated that there are only 2 seasons because, I loved every episode of it. It was really good.
I love Fleabag.
I've never heard
so
of
much.
Fleabag.
Oh, Christy, you have to give it a watch. It's by, I don't know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who you might not know if you haven't seen Fleabag, but it's like it's not like a romantic comedy, but it is like a very, I don't know, a feminist journey of self-love and discovery, and it's a good watch. And there are
Love
like
the sound
me
of
feel
it.
things.
I'll give it a watch. I'll come back to you on my thoughts. But it sounds good.
Amazing. All right. Well, hopefully the listeners, got a few TV series to watch there on the rainy weekends that we tend to know and love in October. So give them a watch. Moving on to our main segment of this week's episode, we are going to be chatting about how to use Pinterest for your business. We did a great interview with Rachel Waring on how to really master Pinterest back in May. So make sure you give that episode a listen for a more in-depth look at the platform. But for today's episode, Christy, Katie, and I are going to be talking you through some strategies you need to know when using Pinterest for your business. So for the listeners that aren't aware, Pinterest has an audience of over 200 million users, and 80% of weekly pinners discover a new brand or product on Pinterest each week. So there's lots of potential there for you and your brand to be discovered. Another great thing about the platform is that it favors both created and curated content too. So there's no need to slave away creating tons of new content each week. You can pin other people's pins to a board of your own, or if you want to make things even simpler, you can simply just recreate and repurpose content from your blog or from your Instagram post into a Pinterest format, and the work is basically done for you. So quite an easy platform to kind of get on, and some amazing results you'll see from there. But Katie, to get us started, why don't you talk us through how to make sure you're pinning and creating captivating content?
Okay, so we all know Pinterest is like such a visual platform. So it may be obvious, but like to make captivating pins, it's so important that you focus on the visuals. So if you ensure your content has a 2:3 aspect ratio, so then it's optimized for like mobile users, because I think it's something like 82% of users are on their mobile.
I'm always pinning on my mobile.
No,
Oh my
same.
God,
I honestly had the Pinterest app open so often. And then as well, like aiming for like having the highest quality images and videos that Pinterest recommends. That's always like a great start. But like the visuals aren't the only things that you've got to focus on. So like text and copy are other factors that you need to consider. Like we mentioned with infographics before, like text overlay can really reinforce your visual message and, give further information to your audience really quickly. And then, make sure your copy is good as well, because, good descriptions are a winner because it'll add context to your images and encourage users to click on links. And it will also help you improve your SEO. So it's like, it's the perfect combo.
Yes, massively.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, Go on.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I am going to Prague next week, and I have been on Pinterest kind of just looking for like touristy things and like itinerary, and the pins that have like a picture of Prague and then a text overlay, like top 10 things to do in Prague, are always the ones that I will click on, because like the information is right there in front of me and it's attention grabbing. So I definitely like agree with you on having the text on the pin, especially if you're creating like a guide or basing it off a blog post of yours. So totally agree with you.
And the way that like Pinterest is laid out, especially on mobile, which is like the way you've got to optimize it, like the text is like the copy is almost hidden a little bit. Like,
it is.
yeah. So when you use like a 2:3 aspect ratio, like it does kind of hide the caption a little bit. You have to scroll for that. So it's just good to try and hook people with like a text overlay.
Definitely. And I think even with like the captions you're creating, it's so important that you don't leave them out despite, you know, them sometimes being hidden because, you know, I say this all the time, but Pinterest is basically like a massive image Google, like it's a big search engine. So the best way to kind of optimize your pin captions is think about what you would be searching for if you're creating said pin. And often if you sort of start typing into the search bar, it has that predictive text that gives you a whole list of things that people are searching for most, and then you can kind of like base your caption on that, which is what you said, great for SEO.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, like every social media platform, consistency is key. So like daily pinning is going to be more effective than just creating a board and filling it up once. And when you're pinning regularly, it's going to make sure your content reaches a wider audience. So basically, it's like a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to like captivating your audience on Pinterest.
Totally. And I think like daily pinning sounds like a really hard task, but it doesn't have to be creating your own pins, like posting on Instagram. You have to create your own post and do your own caption. Like daily pinning could be as simple as pinning other people's pictures into a board of your own and doing that, you know, at least a few times a day. And that just like keeps you relevant, keeps you at the top. I'm not sure that Pinterest has like a really difficult algorithm, but I'm sure that's the key to nailing it, right?
Exactly. Like Pinterest algorithm, like on the homepage or whatever, like I've only got to pin like 3 pins and then it completely changes my homepage.
Yeah, it's amazing. 100%. It's like the algorithms just like TikTok.
Yeah,
so good. And when you click on a board, it's got such specific, I don't know if you guys find this, but it's similar to what you're saying, like it's got such specific like perfect pins, and I'm like, how do you know like, and I like that you do it like board by board, and it's got the different recommendations because it's perfect just to like quickly add. I mean, this is as a consumer and as a business on Pinterest, like it makes it perfect to just like quickly add what's ideal for your board. And I mean, Chloe, like you, I don't know much about the Pinterest algorithms, but they are working, and the other platforms I think need to take notes from Pinterest.
Absolutely. I think Pinterest and TikTok have the best algorithms in the game, so
yes.
Well, I guess kind of moving off the back of what Katie's been talking us through and like creating captivating content, it's important to kind of get creative with the different pin formats that are available on Pinterest, because I'm sure most people are aware, you know, you've got your standard pin where you're just adding an image, but there are actually a few different types that you can use. And that will help you encourage users to shop your product. So users also come to the platform for inspiration, which we know, and 85% of users say they use the platform to start a new project. So if you're a company that provides a service or products, like maybe you're in the home decor business, Pinterest is so vital for you. So you can create pins that will kind of aid people in their journey for doing a home reno or styling a new room. So super important to keep in mind. A type of pin that I've been obsessed with recently, just on my own personal Pinterest board, are story pins. And I'm not sure if you guys have heard of these. They are new. They came out on Pinterest this year, I believe, but they're kind of like Instagram stories, but in a pin format. So you can create multiple slides within one pin. You can include videos within that. You can include images. You can add text. It's kind of like creating, an Instagram story or an Instagram reel. So these are really great to show off different products. You could have like multiple products on each slide. You could create a how-to guide. I love pinning recipes this way because it kind of has like a step-by-step guide to a recipe, like a dinner or a dessert. So the possibilities are endless. And just to give the listeners, a little bit of a nudge into using story pins, I've been using them to help grow my own Pinterest. And I had 200 monthly views, and I've grown my views to 20,000 in just a few weeks from using story pins. So
wow,
we love that. And I think they're really, really great. And I just use them just for like outfit photos, but imagine what you could do if you have a product or a service. So In addition to story pins, you've also got your video pins, which are they're the same as your standard pin where you just upload a video on itself, but there's also carousel pins as well. So lots of different ways to showcase all the different sides of your business. So now that we kind of know how to create content for Pinterest, Christy, why don't you tell us how to optimize your boards for searches?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you guys have covered everything so well. I think Pinterest is so similar to Instagram. Like you said, Katie, it's such a visual platform. So it's really important to ensure that you have like a variety of boards. I feel like it's almost like a more versatile Instagram. It's obviously got its own ways that it's different, and Instagram has its pros. But I feel like it's almost a more versatile Instagram in that you obviously have your different boards. So like I said, I think it's really important to have like a broad range. I know like I've got them up here as an example. Oreo have a really good range of boards. They've got sort of inspiring ones, so that people will save for the visual aspect of it, because obviously you've got, as a consumer, you're creating boards mainly for the visual aspect. You may click on it. I know that some of my boards, I have them literally to click on and, you know, to read into the blog or the article attached, but a lot of them I literally just have for like visual inspiration. I never click into them. Yeah, so I think you can almost have it like a mood board, because you can sort of scroll through more visually, so you never sort of click into or I know that I have that, I never really click into some of the articles and blogs attached. So yeah, I know that Oreo have a few like that, and I think the more important ones, I think in a similar way, we've touched on this for Instagram before, and I think I wasn't on the episode, but I think you guys touched on it in the infographics episode as well, that it's so important to have the ones that are more educational. So obviously on Instagram, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely save a lot of educational content that I'm going to come back. I know that I'm going to come back to. I know that it's going to help me in the future, even if it doesn't help me now. And I know that I come back to, I'm going to use Oreo as like my umbrella example in this. I know, because they are really good. So I know that Oreo have like quick and easy Oreo recipes, spooky sweet Halloween recipes, all using Oreo. And obviously, even if you don't use it in that moment, you can, people are going to sort of come back to that and have it there as like a little easy go-to guide. And I think that links into using your boards and your pins seasonally as well. I like any platform, this, you know, Pinterest isn't necessarily different from other platforms in this way, but linking into current events, especially seasonal. I think Christmas is such a fantastic time, and Halloween, such a great time to really utilize Pinterest. Like, I keep saying like Instagram because I feel like it is like an underrated Instagram, but in the same way as Instagram, use it for those you know, for seasonal events.
Yeah, I love that you keep using this example of Oreo, firstly because their like social media game is just so up there. I love visiting their Instagram as well as their Pinterest. Yeah. But it kind of reminds me that a lot of Pinterest searches are unbranded, so you can really kind of use guerrilla marketing to kind of slide your products onto people's radar. So if we look at Oreo, for example, because they're like, I don't know, a condiment, a food service, they can really get into a lot of different areas. So they could create like a dessert recipe that has to use Oreos, and then that could be a really popular pin. And then, you know, the more people that are pinning it, the more people are going, oh, I have to use Oreo for this recipe, right? So you could do the same, like if you're a paint brand, like for like home renos.
In a similar way to that, we've got a client that does a lot of DIY stuff. So they've got a whole platform of tools that you can use for sort of DIY projects, and I know that they're interested in getting into Pinterest because you know, people will save DIY projects again to, like I said, to come back to at a later point. So I know they're interested in going on Pinterest, and we're I think that it's, you know, it's a really good idea for companies like that as well, just to add on to your point, Chloe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if, say, for our client, they could create a couple of mood boards, like one for like a bathroom renovation, one for a kitchen makeover, and then just add a few images in there with their products so that people, you know, see these pins or find these boards, they follow those boards, and then, you know, they're getting subtle product imagery fed to them by this brand. So yes, super important to like have a wide range of boards for different areas of your business or different kind of industries or niches that your product or service fits into, right?
Definitely. I think as well, leading on from that, the fact you said how many searches are unbranded, I think it also in a different way makes it similar to TikTok, that like it doesn't really matter how big your brand is or how successful your brand is. You have just as much, maybe not just as much, but you have a much bigger chance than say on Facebook or Instagram, at getting noticed, because it's not, people aren't necessarily searching the big brands. They're searching keywords, and it's a much bigger.
Exactly.
And I definitely, again, I don't know about you guys, but I don't tend to, follow the big brands on Pinterest. Like I'm much more interested in the actual content, and I feel like I said it's in a similar way to TikTok, and it's quite a new thing, because I don't feel like before TikTok and before Pinterest, there's really been a platform where you can just find content that isn't necessarily related to how successful you are as a brand, and even those really, really small brands. And I think especially if you're a very aesthetic small brand, like bridal companies, I feel like do really, really well on Pinterest. Speaking as someone that's never planned a wedding, speaking from experience, I've got my wedding planned out on Pinterest. It's terrible, but God, companies like that, even if you're really small, even if you're a really small company, you really have a chance on Pinterest. As long as we touched on, you make your content visual and aesthetic, and you've got worthwhile content in there, I think anyone stands a chance at getting successful on Pinterest.
I guess just to make one final point to add on to that, one of the most brilliant things about Pinterest that makes it the most different from Instagram and the most likable thing, I guess, is that you don't have to sort of rely on likes. You don't have to rely on followers, because that's not how the platform operates. It operates on, monthly views and how many saves you're getting on your pins. So if you are a smaller business who kind of, is begrudged by Instagram because you're maybe not getting the engagement there, or you're not getting the reach there, head over to Pinterest. You don't need those vanity metrics. All you need is great content. You don't even need a following. So yeah, there you have it. Pinterest is so much more than a social network. It offers businesses of all sizes a unique way to market themselves. Remember that Pinterest is one big visual search engine, so it's great for exposing new potential customers to your brand. Now it's time to dive into the top social media news story of the week. TikTok, funnily enough, has reached 1 billion active users, just the latest in a long line of milestones for the app. So for those of you who don't remember, despite the app almost being banned in the US, actually being banned in India, which is their second biggest usage market, and almost being sold off entirely, TikTok has steadily grown into one of the most downloaded apps globally. For added context, TikTok has gone from 54 million users in January 2018 to 1 billion today, meaning it added 950 million users in around 45 months, which is massive.
Crazy.
Yes, so we've all seen... Yeah, they said it wouldn't last, right? I said it wouldn't last. I said it was a lockdown fad and I wasn't going to download it, and here we are, one of the 1 billion. We've seen almost every other platform try to replicate TikTok's insane popularity, but to no avail. And now, unlike its predecessor Vine, it seems like TikTok is going to be around for a long, long time. But the three of us here are our resident in-house TikTok creators here at Giraffe. So I would love to hear your thoughts from both of you on how TikTok has caused a cultural shift of sorts over the last, 2-3 years.
So when I was actually doing my master's last year, I wrote an essay about how TikTok was included, but it was just how media has just changed so much for to favor short form content.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like one of the main things I really like find interesting about TikTok is that it doesn't seem to conform to traditional social media conventions. Like the one-to-one communication and connection like isn't really a priority, because you know you have the For You page and also a followed feed. So, and that's like the fact that the For You page is the priority over the people you follow. I think that says a lot about the platform as a whole, which might be kind of why it can't be replicated on other social media platforms, because it's just its own beast.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's just its own thing over there. And like as well, the main thing that let TikTok succeed over Vine, because you know, rest in peace Vine, is because there was no way to monetize Vine, whereas TikTok, you know, they've got ads going like all the time. You've got the option to promote your posts, so there's ways that the platform can make money. It's not just the people on it making money. And like the pure like chef's kiss thing that TikTok does that I absolutely admire, because it's a bold move, is that you can download almost every piece of content on there, but it will keep the watermark on it, so you will know it's from TikTok. And I think that was really what helped it explode, because no matter what platform it was on, you knew it was from TikTok.
Oh yes.
So it just really encouraged it.
Yes, the funniest thing about that is that it really just seemed to rile up Instagram. You know, they released Reels, which was an attempt to take over TikTok anyway. And then they kind of had to come out with a statement saying any video that you post to Reels that has any watermark on it, and we were like, so TikTok, they were like, we're not gonna boost this, like we're not gonna give you the reach. You know, you have to use Reels, and you have to make your videos within Reels, and then ended up adding an Instagram watermark to Instagram Reels anyway if you wanted to download those. So I do chuckle when I see videos on TikTok that have the Instagram watermark, because TikTok's like, show up to everyone, who cares? And Instagram's like, no.
It's almost like TikTok is like the chill older sibling, and then like Instagram Reels are just like, no, I want to do it my way.
Yes, 100%. Chrissy,
I say that as a younger sibling.
Yeah, you're biased, Katie. I definitely think, I mean, like you said, Chloe, I definitely think lockdown helped TikTok, because I remember having, when I was in my previous job, I remember a couple of my colleagues using it, and I remember being like, what's this? And that was end of 2019, or sort of nearing the end of 2019. So I think it had that first year, and it clearly didn't necessarily accelerate at the same speed. So I think lockdown, I know that I spent a disgusting amount of time on TikTok during lockdown, because like what else was there to do? So I definitely think that helped it. But I also think that the lack of, where Vine was such a cultural phenomenon, R.I.P. Vine, I second you, Katie. I think that something did have to come along at some point and replace it. I think TikTok was like the a slightly better, but I hate to say this because I started off preferring Vine to TikTok, but it is just like a better version of Vine. It's got, you can fit more in, so I think it's better. It's not necessarily optimized for businesses yet, but I think it's better for businesses because there are, I don't know how much a business can fit in within 6 seconds, which is obviously what Vine gave you. And, you know, you can fit in so much more as a business. There's more ways to engage with people. I know that TikTok has obviously produced a lot more almost celebrities now. Obviously a few of them have gone into acting and sort of branched out, so it's such an interesting platform, and I love it, and it's definitely grown on me. I was one of those people like you, Chloe, that was like, I'm not going to download it, I won't be falling into this trap, but turns out it wasn't a trap, and it is here we are. But I mean, I think you guys have covered everything. It's such a good platform, and it's kind of especially before Instagram Reels and the other platforms that tried their hand at stories. It really is such a unique thing where like I said, something needed to come along and replace Vine at some point. There's nothing else really like it, or there was nothing else at the time really like it, so I think that helped. But I'm a big TikTok advocate, as I know we all are.
So I was actually on TikTok like before lockdown. I was one of those people that you judged. Because it was a good platform for like cosplay stuff, which is like the sort of thing that I produce. And honestly, like the huge shift over lockdown between like TikTok being this like weird niche cringy thing to like something that everyone is on, like it felt like a huge difference, like being on the app. And there was just like so much more content. It got so much funnier.
Yeah, totally. There's like some TikToks going around at the moment where it's like, let's confuse people that weren't on the app before 2019, and then it's got some random audio or like a trend that I'm totally like, it goes over my head because I wasn't on the app before 2019. So yeah, it's funny how, you know, the OG TikTokers are now like poking fun at everyone else, and it's mass success. So
it was just a lot of like, you know, like the annoying theatre kids. Yeah, that was us. We're just there with our voiceovers doing like Junko poses and stuff. It was a wild, wild time.
I want to touch quickly before we end the segment on, Christy, you talked about, you know, businesses on Vine and how it wasn't really, you know, the perfect platform for that. But now we have seen businesses just, you know, start running with TikTok and seeing what they can do. To give you a few examples, there is a skincare brand that has been relentlessly targeting me with their For You ads and their sponsored updates, which, you know, has almost, if it wasn't £17, I would absolutely buy this product, and it's now on Missguided and a bunch of mainstream websites, and they just started out as this little indie brand. We've got businesses like Ryanair and the other one that have this weird feud through TikTok, and just have seen mass success from the sheer stupidity, I guess, of their content, but still keeping it relevant to their brand, you know, following trends and making it their own. And then most recently, we've got brands like McDonald's and Starbucks, even TikTok themselves, who have been interacting with users, such as, I don't know if you guys have seen it, there's a girl who claims she went to design school for like 10 years and she redesigns the logos of famous brands. But just like when I first watched it, I was like, is this girl like having a laugh? And she is. So and so she's been creating these like really poorly designed logos, and brands have been turning them into using them as their profile pictures and really just like running with it and asking her to design these logos for them. So it's just so cool seeing how brands have really, I think you're right, like TikTok is like the cool sibling and everyone just wants to be there. You wouldn't see this type of thing, like you might see it on Twitter, but you definitely wouldn't see it on Instagram. It's just too highbrow these days. So it's like a super exciting
It's funny you say that actually about that girl who does the logos, because I literally said to my partner last night, well, when we were watching, I was like, I love when social media turns out like this, and it's just like a mashup of different trends on social media and different companies joining in. And I love how social media marketing is sort of turning, I mean, it kind of already has, but like it's gone through a process of turning into that, of so many things sort of collaborate, so many companies and people and trends just collaborating, and I love it. I love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the only other example I could think of anywhere else is, you know, sometimes on Twitter, like a brand, like I think they do it with like Lidl and Aldi and Tesco, they all like, they'll tweet something and then they all jump on the bandwagon, and there's like a thread of all these businesses kind of, you know, having a laugh at one another, which I think is so cool. But like TikTok, just, you're able to do it in such a more personal way, because you can see, you know, the social media assistant behind that account, or you can, you know, interact with other users and like use their content for your, like, it's just so cool. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to see capitalism just
yay
do its things. But yeah. As much as I would love to sit here and talk to you guys about TikTok all day, we do have to move into our latest and greatest segment, which is answering some DMs that we've received on social media. Today's direct message came through to us on Instagram, and it reads, do you think social media will replace traditional advertising completely one day? and kind of coming off the back of our TikTok chat, I would love to hear what you guys think about this question.
Yeah, I think it definitely, I don't know if it will replace it altogether, in my opinion. I don't think it could ever replace it altogether, but I think are we even at a point where social media marketing has taken over traditional marketing? I would argue that we could be at that point, but to answer the actual question, I don't think, in my opinion, it will ever replace it altogether, because I could never see there being like no adverts and no billboards. And I still, although I prefer social media marketing, you'd hope I'd prefer it in our job role. But I love seeing it. I think it's more relevant to us maybe because of, we're on social media more now as a generation than we watch TV or that kind of thing. I still love seeing like a clever advert. I love seeing, I love like hearing, certain adverts on the radio. I love seeing massive billboards. Are so, like, some of them are so cool. I don't know if you saw the one, I think it was in Piccadilly Circus, and it was for Balenciaga maybe? No, I can't remember what brand it was, but it was it was one of those interactive ones where it looks like something's like coming out of the screen, and it was so fantastic. And I can never see that kind of thing going away, because how amazing is that kind of thing? But I definitely think it's at a point where it's maybe overtaken it. I don't know about you guys, what you think.
No, I completely agree with you, Christy. Like, I don't think we're going to be in a position where it will fully replace it, but like I do think it will kind of just merge together, and they'll both just be known as just advertising, because it will just be, two different ways of doing it. I mean, this is like, unless we end up in like some sci-fi dystopia where we have like social media chips implanted into us or something like that. Like in WALL-E. But I don't know, I just think that's kind of the only situation where I feel like social media advertising would like fully take over.
Yeah, I think 100%. Like, it's definitely more of a collaborative effort now. Like, if you're a business that isn't advertising on social media, like, what are you doing? Like, you need to have a digital marketing budget, but at the same time, you can't completely neglect your audience that isn't on social or isn't, digitally capable. And there are always going to be people who see a sponsored ad or a sponsored post on Facebook and just take it upon themselves to just really rage against said brand, even though they have been carefully targeted and they are most likely interested in the product. They just cannot stand the idea of their phone listening to them or whatever they think is going on there. So we'll definitely I agree with both of you. I don't think we will get to a point. I think if we did, there, we'd have to see 100% of the population on social media. Otherwise, you're still missing out on just like a massive chunk of your demographic. Cool. Well, that was our top DM for this week. So hopefully, we answered your question. If you'd like to be featured in next week's episode, make sure you slide into our DMs on Instagram. We are at GiraffeSN. That's all we've got time for today, though, girls. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode as a listener, don't forget to subscribe if you're on Apple Podcasts, or give us a follow on Spotify. We would love to hear what you thought about today's episode. Are you among the 1 billion on TikTok? Let us know. Reach out on social media and let us know what you think. We've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time.